Good morning. Great morning. Great, fantastic morning. Why? Because he woke us up this morning. Who's he? Who you think? It's only one of him. No matter what you call him or who you call him, he is the creator of everything. And he chose you and me to rise this morning. Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, soldiers of the Lord. And that's why we should give him the honor, the praise, the glory, the hallelujah, the worship, and guess what? And most important, the acknowledgement that he is. Wait until you have your knee bowing experience, if you haven't had it already, that you will confess with your tongue that he is. He is. Why? Because 33 plus years ago, he met me, delivered me, and prepared me from underneath a parked car, 3 o'clock in the morning, getting high, doing all kind of sexual favors with my own stepson. Yes, ending my 14-year addiction and mental illness. I tell you, he put me on a pathway to a spiritual recovery, and I only look back and go back just to help somebody else. And so that's why I was chosen, prepared to sit before you this morning, this day that we will never, ever, ever, ever see again. But let me ask you a question. Now, listen. Y'all know my name is Edwina B. If you don't know, it's Edwina B, aka Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, as you can see. I first want to ask you a question. You see how I look right now, right? And if you are smart and not naive, you will know that this is a wig and that I have makeup on and these are dentures. Did you know that? Well, okay, now you know. And so, my whole purpose of being here and being prepared is to achieve the journey to transparency and authenticity, right? Because if my God, who I now know through a 12-step spiritual program, met me, delivered me, and prepared me to be here with you just the way I was then, I need to continue to remove the mask. And so another question is, if I continue on this segment with all of this on, you probably be more focused on this and not the spiritual message. And so I've learned through my journey to transparency and authenticity and to give my God the acknowledgement that I accept myself just the way I am. And it's not this way. This is a mask that I put on for whomever, wherever, for whatever reason, but it's not who I am. So if you really want to believe the words that come out of my mouth, I not only need to talk the talk, but I need to walk the walk and lead by example. Okay? So here we go. The mask must go. All right? Mm. I love this part, y'all. I love this part. Why? Because it sets me free. Yeah. Can I continue? Can I continue? See, my God loves me just the way I am. So this is how I wake up in the morning, right? But this time, I don't put on the other mask. I just put these in for articulation and pronunciation purposes, all right? All right. And then I get up and I mold my crown, right? This is my crown, right? And so when you see me like this, are you more prone to believe me and what I say, huh? Opposed to having the mask on? I know I would, because this is what happened to me years ago when I was in a rehab. Some lady came in there and she just was a plain Jane, as any plain Jane could be, no makeup, no wig, no nothing. And I listened to that spiritual message because she said what she said. She said how she felt about what she did. She even talked about all the things she did. And I'm like, oh my, she's sharing this in front of all these people? Yes, because it wasn't not about the messenger. It was about the spiritual message. I said, then, Lord, if you keep me sober long enough, I want to be able to share just like her. And so my 33 plus years in this process called spiritual recovery has set me free to give hope to others. From recovery, emerge empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. So now, see, listen, this is all I do in the morning, right? No makeup, right? Right? This is, aren't I beautiful? Huh? And then if I do put a little makeup on, it's to accentuate my culture, my heritage, my tradition. It's not to put on a mask to please man and not even myself. I want to feed my spirit and not my flesh. Okay. All right. So, with that being said, now you see the real me. And I hope one day to see the real you, because I'm going to look beyond the mask and look into those eyes and beyond them to see what spirit is occupying this vessel. All right. So, welcome to the, let's see, April the 22nd, right? My perspective on the AA Daily Reflections, new soil, new roots, created and implemented through the Alcoholics Anonymous program that's spiritual in nature with a spiritual fellowship. I will be incorporating the 5 agreements by the UE's Family and Transformational Teachings by Dr. Sonia. But before I do that, I want to share with you just a little history about a woman in my life when I talk about total transparency and authenticity. My aunt Margaret Matilda Kemp Williams. And if she was alive today, you would think that I was her daughter because I look just like her. And she and her brother, my dad, looked alike. And so I call her Aunt Margaret, had a very, very powerful impact on my life, my belief system, my attitudes, my behaviors that were formulated way, way, way back. And I thank God for the 4-step inventory and the 5 agreements that encourage us to go back to find out what happened to us. Where were all those thoughts, attitudes, behaviors, belief system first formulated by whom and what situation, what circumstances, and what part did I play in it? So today is her birthday. And I thank God that I was there for her and took care of her before she transitioned. But she had a very, very powerful impact on my life. My Aunt Margaret, let me see how much time I got because I got to stay on focus, okay? Was a single woman at first, and she had a very challenging life. And she was born in the 1930s, right? And to a mother who had one child older than my Aunt Margaret, Aunt Elsie. And after my Aunt Margaret was born, my dad was born, Edward Clinton Hall. You see the Kemp, the Williams, the Halls, like, okay, we'll talk about that later. And then after that, her youngest brother, Bernard Kemp, was born. But Aunt Margaret was a fascinating, interesting, intriguing woman. She the one who taught me when to be a lady and when to be a woman. She also told me and showed me how I need to be at times. So I watched her throughout, and unlike my other opinion, that was, I'm not going to say boring, but my Aunt Margaret was exciting. She put on the wig, she put on the makeup, she put on the tight dresses, lifting up the boobs and everything. I'm not saying she was like a slut-looking person. No, she dressed with, I mean, conservative and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm watching her as a little girl, and I'm like, wow, wow. One day she had this wiggle, one day she had this wiggle, one day she had that wiggle, one day and then, oh my God, yes, oh, I want to be like her. And I started imitating her, unknowingly to me, because I didn't know as a child that she had her life to live and she was living her life to the best of her ability, right? But I saw some things, I was around some things, I experienced some things with her, and I'm like, whoa, this is the kind of life I want. So I started imitating my Aunt Margaret in a lot of ways, shape, forms, and fashions, right? But she was, a worker. She believed in taking care of herself. She worked 2 or 3 jobs. And the one job that had the most impact on me was she's a barmaid. And that's when all the, And a little girl being with her, my mom didn't really know all this, but she would take me to work with her. And I would sit in the bar at the end or in a corner, and I would watch, the movements, the attention she was getting from all the men. Mm-hmm. And then there were times when she would go back in the room, and the guy would go back in the room, and they would come out. What was they doing back there? You get my drift? But what I'm telling you is that through it all, my Aunt Margaret was a beautiful woman who had her issues and unfortunately could not be introduced to the 12 spiritual program of Alcoholics Anonymous. But in any event, I am carrying on her legacy of becoming transparent and authentic. That I don't need the wigs, I don't need the makeup, I don't need to please man. I don't need to subject myself any longer to prostitution, drinking, drugging, and all that. Okay? So that's enough about my Aunt Margaret. I love you, Auntie. All right, so let's get to the topic today. All right, so the topic is AA Daily Reflections, New Soil, New Roots, right? And so what I want to show you now is how we're going to open up our spiritual ears and open up our spiritual eyes so we can dissect this baby, okay? Because I love the topic. Okay, it says from our co-founder's book, As Bill Sees It, off of page 173, he states, moments of perception can build into a lifetime of spiritual serenity, as I have excellent reason to know. Roots of reality, supplanting the neurotic underbush, will hold fast despite the high winds of the forces which would destroy us or which we would use to destroy ourselves. Woo! The person in recovery states, I came to AA green, exceedingly quivering with exposed tap roots. It was for survival, but it was a beginning. I stretched, developed, twisted, but with the help of others, my spirit eventually burst up from the roots. I was free. I acted withered, went inside, prayed, acted again, understood anew, as one moment of perception struck. Up from my roots, spirit arms lengthened into strong green shoots. High springing servants stepping skyward. Here on earth, God unconditionally continues the legacy of higher love. My AA life put me on a different footing. My roots grasped a new soil. AA page 12. Now, if you like me right about now, you'd be saying, what the hell? I mean, what was that? That was deep, wasn't it? Right? And so listen, we reread this daily reflections every day, and I've been reading it every day for 33 plus years. And so these are the times when I need to go back and reread. I need to go back and reread. I need to go back and reread, right? And I need to dissect every word, okay? So I'm going to, due to time constraints, put it in my perspective what they are saying, okay? And so when I just think about the title, New Soil, New Roots, all right? So let me paraphrase, if I may. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and share with you I was wrong or had a misunderstanding. All right. So, new soil, new roots. Through the spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, step 4 in particular encourages us to go back into our history, way back as far as we can remember, to look at the soil we were born into, brought into, and was a part of our journey. And as human beings, as we grow older, new soil, new roots, okay? Now, from what the Uiz family talks about with the 5 agreements, they describe it as a domestication process. Domestication, like we train dogs and cats and stuff like that. Well, we as human beings have been trained to do the same thing for humans, right? And so with this newfound soil of knowledge, beginning with the 12 spiritual program of Alcoholics Anonymous that I was introduced to once this God that I didn't know chose to let me live rather than take me out this life. A new soil from the addiction of underneath that parked car with mental illness, having that knee-bound experience underneath that parked car, where my life just flashed before me from the beginning soil to the various soil to the soil of being underneath a parked car. And so a new soil was given to me, and it began to establish new roots in this process called spiritual recovery that gives spiritual experiences, awakenings, transformation to achieve a psychic change. So for me, the new soil begins with my thoughts. With my thoughts. But I can't have new thoughts if I don't review the old thoughts and actions that I had that put me underneath that parked car. Get my drift? Okay. So now being a part of this new soil called spiritual recovery, I learned what Donald Lawrence says in his song called Spiritual. We are not natural beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings living and walking this natural journey on earth called life. Okay? And so when I think about this new soil, not knowing what kind of roots are going to manifest, they teach us in our spiritual program how to compare our old information, our old behaviors, actions, attitudes, right? And through the recovery step process, we are giving some spiritual information to weed out the negative and replace it with spiritual things. So I understand Donald Lawrence when he says this is just the vessel, but what soil the spirit is manifesting its roots through my actions, you know? And so when I began to take off my my humanness eyes and close my humanness ears, I began to open up my spiritual eyes and open up my spiritual ears because of the new spiritual information, that it's a part of the new soil that's going to bring about new roots. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense to me. Okay, I'm doing the best I can, right? And that's what's one of the agreements by the Ruiz family talks about, right? Always do your best. And so now that I've been in this process for 33 plus years, from underneath a parked car, as an alcoholic, a crackhead, right? Drug addict, a prostitute, coupled with mental illness, known as co-occurring disorders. Mm-hmm. The rapes, the beat-ups, the setups, setting people up, robbing dead bodies, stepping over dead bodies, right? As a reaction to being a slave to King Alcohol. That was the soil that my God, who I didn't know, delivered me from and prepared me to get new soil that will generate new roots. Yes. It's amazing how when I go back and review the old soil and the old roots, I see how my attitudes, ideas, and behaviors was based on the flesh, was based on materialistic things, was based on the mask. And no matter how I felt about what was going on, the reality is that I really didn't know what was going on. And that's a beautiful thing. Hear me out. Hear me out. And so when I say that we will have our knee bowing experience, our journey in this life will show us that it's been a big lie. That knee bowing experience will show us it's been a big lie. I am not the great I am. I am not the person that I thought I was. And neither are you. So there must be something wrong here. How did I, at the age of 34, get underneath a parked car? 3 o'clock in the morning, getting high with my own stepson and doing sexual favors for him? Oh, no. Something is wrong. Why couldn't I stop? Why couldn't I see? Why couldn't I feel that something was wrong with me? No, I did feel that something was wrong with me, but I didn't want to admit it. Yeah. And so through this journey, right, I've learned that knee bowing experience for everyone is needed and will occur. Yes. Because we will see how that old soil was rotten, right? Was spoiled, was mixed with a whole lot of BS, and it produced those types of roots. But from that knee bowing experience, yes, I cried out to a God that I didn't know personally, because I was taught that he was a punishing God. But during my addiction and during some parts of my life when I was afraid, I would say, Lord, help, God, help me, Lord. They are called the foxhole prayers, right? And so I just believe that because of domestication, that we are taught, right, to do certain things and expect certain results. But we also learn in recovery that our expectations must be very, very, very low, and our acceptance level very, very, very high. You see? Okay. But through that knee-bound experience and crying out to this God that I didn't know to take me out this life or show me a better way, he took me out the old soil that produced those roots, and he placed me in new soil and began to provide spiritual nurturing, spiritual experiences, spiritual awakening, spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom, and it began to produce new roots. I had no idea that I would be sitting here before you with 33 plus years on this spiritual journey without the mask, being as transparent and authentic as I could possibly be. I'm not intimidated by no man. My goal is to please my God, who placed me on this new soil of spiritual recovery. And it's a lifelong process. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But when the spiritual student is ready, the spiritual teachers will appear, and it will make a difference. So now I'm sitting here before you to let you know that that new soil has produced new roots. I am presently obtaining my doctorate degree in biblical studies. Me? Yes, me. I want to know more about this God who did for me what no other human being could do, not even myself. My dissertation is on 15 to 20 instruments known as people. And I want to share with you from them how these 12 spiritual principles help them to identify a God of their understanding. Atheists, agnostics, believers, non-believers, whatever. But we all had one thing in common from the old soil that produced those roots that manifested as a result of becoming an alcoholic, drug addict, and having mental illness. And so the whole purpose of my dissertation is to let you know we are all many and varied. We all come from different walks of life. But it's one thing that we have in common. That old soil produced some roots that damn near killed us. And guess what? Some of us did die by the hands of others, by causes of the disease of alcoholism, even by suicide, which I attempted to do several times. But who, me, sitting in front of you, letting you know that the new soil is producing new roots of me obtaining my doctorate degree in biblical studies? Yes, I am an author. This is me underneath that parked car that I shared about. Yes, a 4-year journal of entries that I kept during my early years in recovery. So in order for me to become totally transparent and authentic, I have to be true to myself. The old soil and the old roots wanted to lie, scheme, manipulate, tell the counselors what I thought they wanted to hear, the therapists, lies, 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 and more lies. But underneath that parked car, when I asked him to take me out this life now or show me a better way, the new soil was prepared to produce new roots. And it started with my journal. I had no idea God was going to publish it years later, but I'm so glad he did. Now I am in the process, thanks to Dr. Sonia, P3 University, and her transformational teachings, is producing the results of those journal entries where the seed was planted. And I'm going to share with you how these last 33 plus years have manifested themselves. So this is the soil, but I need to share the roots, the new roots, as a result of being a part of this 12-step spiritual program. Okay. The other thing is, right, I have a TV talk show. Me. I didn't know I had public speaking experience. I guess you're saying, yeah, right. Well, guess what? I didn't. I didn't. I did not know that within that old soil and those old roots, that there was a spiritual soul and a spiritual root that needed to be free. But I had to go through what I went through for me to have that knee bowing experience, for me to call out and confess with my tongue that he is. Help me. And when I surrendered all. Not knowing what was ahead of me, but I damn sure knew what was behind me, and I didn't want to go back there. So yes, I got my public speaking experience from the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous by sharing my experience, my strength, my hope, my perspective at meetings. So I do have public speaking experience. But I'm telling you, you know, when Dr. Brown, bless his heart, put me in front of that camera, and he would say, action, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd be like, cut. He was like, I said, I gotta go to the bathroom. He said, what? Listen. I went in that bathroom, came back out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action, cut. What's the matter? I gotta go back to the bathroom again. And so what I'm telling you is that I had to surrender, because now that I see the manifestation of being on Image Time, I was scared as I don't know what. I had diarrhea, everything, right? And I went in that bathroom and I said, God, if you want me to do this, then you got to help me. And that voice came back and said, when you get out there, just open your mouth and I'll do the rest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. Hi, my name is Edwina Bell, and I am here to let you know that people with co-occurring disorders, we do recover. See? 32 plus years. I had no idea. There's more, but I got to get ready to go to my meeting. Y'all know that, right? All right. So let me end by sharing what the person in recovery talked about, because, you know, that was a lot. And so one of the things that I will hone in on, it says here on earth, God unconditionally continues the legacy of higher love. My AA life put me on a different footing. My roots grasped a new soil. I'm sitting here before you because of that new soil. I want to be able to set you free and put you on the road to transparency and authenticity. So I'm inviting you to my Thursday, April the 27th, free presentation on Zoom to help give you an orientation on how to begin building the foundation. New soil, new roots. Have a blessed day. And if it's God's choice that you and I are here tomorrow, I'll be here. And on Sundays, I'm here for a whole hour. So maybe I will continue this tomorrow if it's God's will. Have a blessed day.